Hi, everybody. I'm Susie Mullens. I'm the program coordinator for the Southern West Virginia Collegiate Recovery Network. And with me today is Lou Ortenzio, and he is going to share with us about Celebrate Recovery. So thank you, Lou, for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sure, thanks for asking me to talk about Celebrate Recovery. Let me introduce myself the way we do Celebrate Recovery style. My name is Lou Ortenzio. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with issues of codependency, anxiety, and selfishness. I will also go on to say that I celebrate recovery from being a drug addict and now have substantial recovery, long-term recovery, and that's a huge blessing. I got involved in Celebrate Recovery after I got saved and sober. I got involved in ministry and found that the symptoms of drug addiction, substance use disorder, really were symptoms of deeper struggles. And as I worked the steps through Celebrate Recovery, and it's a 12-step recovery program, as I worked the steps, I came to understand that the drug addiction was the outer part of it, but deeper that I was dealing with codependency, with people pleasing, as I did as a physician and as I did in ministry, or was doing in ministry, because deeper to that, I'm a nervous, anxious kind of guy. At the heart of it all, I'm just kind of selfish. That's kind of how my onion peels. But going through the steps of Celebrate Recovery, I came to understand those issues, and God provided substantial healing and continues to work on me through the Celebrate Recovery 12-step program. Celebrate Recovery came out of Saddleback Church in California about 29 years ago, and now there's about 30,000 Celebrate Recoveries in 38 countries. It uses the 12 steps that were founded back in the 30s in Alcoholics Anonymous, but now they're connected to Scripture. And actually, the founder, Rick Warren at Saddleback, John Baker, who was a pastor out there, became a pastor out there, found that the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous correspond to the 8 principles that are linked to Jesus's Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount, the blessed R's, the happy R's. So that's what Celebrate Recovery's basic understanding is underlying all. The basic Celebrate Recovery meeting is a large group with men and women together. There's always praise and worship, and then there's a teaching based on the 12 steps or the 8 principles, or a testimony of what God's done in someone's life through Celebrate Recovery. And then we break up into men's groups and women's groups that are issue specific and gender specific, as I indicated. So because Celebrate Recovery is not focused just on addiction issues, it's focused on what John Baker and Rick Warren identified were human problems called hurts, habits, and hangups, because we've all been hurt in life, and you can't heal a hurt by saying that's not there. That's Jeremiah 6:14. We all have habits that are not God's plan, and life on life's terms can be tough. It's easy to get hung up. So Celebrate Recovery offers a solution of Jesus Christ for any kind of hurt, habit, or hang up. There are 50 Celebrate Recoveries in the state of West Virginia. We're trying to expand and have one in every county, at least one in every county, to give folks, again, a Christ-based recovery program for healing of their struggles. And we find that there are people outside the church that need Celebrate Recovery, but there's certainly people in the church who have hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and maybe have not allowed Christ to help them deal with those issues. The meetings are held at churches. That's the standard. They're usually ministries of the church itself that the Celebrate Recovery ministry is housed in, and there's usually food involved either before or after, a meal or snacks before, a meal or snacks afterwards, and fellowship time. We also have a children's program called Celebration Place, which is the 12 steps for children. And then we have a teen program called The Landing. So a full-blown church that has Celebrate Recovery would offer something for the entire family, depending upon their ability to serve. We are blessed, as I said, to have 50 in West Virginia. COVID, the pandemic, has certainly been a challenge because churches have been closed and folks have been unable to meet. And in fact, a lot of 12-step meetings had to slow down or shut down. But Celebrate Recovery has been attempting as best they can to use Zoom as a format, and we'll see where that goes. So have to check. There is a website, www.celebraterecovery.com, and you go on there and find Group Finder and put your zip code in, and you can find a Celebrate Recovery near you.
Great, Lou. So how did you come to get involved with Celebrate Recovery?
Well, I was a physician who was addicted to hydrocodone. I got saved and I got sober, but then in the course of dealing with the consequences of my addiction, I got federal conviction and lost my medical license. Wandered around looking for employment, but after a while of minimum wage work and delivering pizza and that sort of stuff, a job in ministry. I went to Bible college and got a job working at a homeless shelter in Clarksburg, Mission. A big part of our recovery ministry here is Celebrate Recovery, and I figured if the residents were going to go to Celebrate Recovery, I'd go and check it out. And that's where I worked the steps really for the first time and came to understand my deeper struggles. And then just having God provide opportunity after opportunity to rise up in ministry and do this work, I got to be one of the state representatives promote CR throughout the state of West Virginia. So that's really how I got involved. And I really feel like it has a strong position in a state like West Virginia that has a lot of churches, but a lot of churches may give the impression that the church is a museum or warehouse or a showroom. But really, I've come to understand that Jesus is a great physician and the church really is a hospital for the sick. And if the church is a hospital for the sick, then CR is like the ER. Celebrate Recovery is like the emergency room. It's a great place for folks to come and find healing. I just think some folks have a disordered paradigm understanding what the church is. And sometimes the church, the body of Christ, doesn't also understand what their role is in all this. But Celebrate Recovery has been very enthusiastic and energetic about trying to intervene in the opiate epidemic that we have in our state and all the consequences, all the fallout of that. To see step how to be part of the solution rather than maybe a judgmental part of the problem.
And so it's obviously a Christian faith-based pathway to recovery.
Yes.
Does a person have to have been saved or have to believe in Christianity or Jesus to participate in Celebrate Recovery?
No, absolutely not. We try to meet people where they are. I mean, it is a Christ-based program, but we do try not to beat people over the head with Bibles. We just try. I mean, we're called to love God and love others as we love ourselves, and we just try to love the folks that come to the door, and try to offer the help and hope in any form that we can. But certainly Christ is a part of that. But we take folks of all kinds to the doors of Celebrate Recovery. In fact, I was with a fellow last night who finally finished the steps of Celebrate Recovery, and he admitted to me last night that he'd come in as an atheist and is finishing his step study, this 12 steps, as a believer. That's very gratifying. So,
Is there any
but
cost associated?
No, absolutely no cost. Now some folks do work the steps, and there's like a $20 cost for the books if they actually work the steps. The step study through Celebrate Recovery is done with a sponsor, but primarily it's done in a group, and it takes about 9 months to work the steps, meeting once a week at a different day or time than the Celebrate Recovery meeting. And so there could be about a $20 cost involved in that. So when we take up an offering to support the ministry, but there's no cost involved in any formal fashion requirement.
Is there anything else that has moved you within Celebrate Recovery to keep you engaged for so many years that you've been involved?
I just see that it works. I just see that people are able to obtain freedom and healing through Celebrate Recovery. And I find that it's a powerful discipleship tool. Really, the purpose of Christianity is not just to get saved and buy your ticket into heaven, but it's to try to change your life, try to conform your life to that of Jesus Christ, and to learn more what that looks like. And I just find that Celebrate Recovery is a great way to have that happen. Sometimes I feel like our 12-step CR does a better job sometimes in the church of engaging people and helping them work through. I mean, we call it recovery. The church calls it sanctification. I think we can play a major role in changing individuals and changing our nation, changing our state, changing our communities through celebrate recovery. I just find it a really an effective and engaging way to get involved.
And what's available for the family through Celebrate Recovery?
So the adults would go to the adult home to celebrate recovery. There would be child care for children under 5. The children from 5 to 5th grade would go to Celebration Place, and the teens from 13 to 17 would go to the Landing. So on one night, all in one church, all in one Celebrate Recovery meeting, you could bring your whole family, and they would develop a relationship with Christ and relationship with Christians, and hopefully healing in their recovery. Because we know that any individual in a family struggling causes other family members to struggle with their issues. And with the Celebrate Recovery model, the whole family can gain healing.
Great. Well, Lou, this has been really informative, and I think the audience will get a lot out of what you shared about Celebrate Recovery. You've mentioned the website. Is there any other information that you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
I mean, I'd certainly be happy to make a connection with anybody. They can message me on Facebook, or I'd give my cell phone number out. I'm certainly happy to make some connections for folks with Celebrate Recovery so that I know all the CRs in the state. So for what it's worth, I'm 304-677-8880. So, Susie, you're like a TV host. You're great.
Well, thanks, Lou. Thank you for everything that you do, and hang in there. You're really doing some amazing work up there in the central part of the state.
Thanks, and I appreciate you.
Thank
All right.
you.
You'll have a good day.
You too.
Right on.